Hi everybody, it's Amy from Mimi's Stitchery. Today is Sunday, January 15th, 2023, and you've stumbled across my floss tube. So in my floss tubes, there's generally more than just cross stitching. I usually show cross stitching and knitting if you're new here. And we're going to try something new for 2023. I have notes too. That's something new for 2023 because usually I fly off the seat of my pants, as most of you know. I want to welcome any new subscribers. I've had some as of recently. And if you're watching and you're not subscribed to my channel, if you would consider subscribing, it would help me in my YouTube algorithm. It shows on my analytics that over 51% of those that watch me are not subscribed. So you don't have to hit notifications if you don't want to know when I put up new videos. But if you're watching me and you like what you see, if you subscribe, that would be super helpful. And welcome back to everybody who religiously follows me, which I am still confused by that whole thing. But anyway, normally I do my videos on Saturday. My schedule has changed for the semester. I'm going to need to move my videos to Sunday as I will be working a clinical shift on Saturdays. That being said, I also think that I may have to go to every 2-week updates instead of every week. But I thought maybe if I could get on with like Stitch with Me's, like live Stitch with Me's that I used to do, maybe I would do those. And those will be very impromptu and not previously scheduled. That would be a benefit to hitting the notifications bell on my page because then you will know if I go live. So consider that. But that's what it looks like, at least for the next 16, 17 weeks or so. My semester is 15 weeks long. It starts a week from Monday. So, yeah. Plus, I'm in my last semester at for my master's degree in nursing education. Yeah, I like to stay busy, but life has us pretty busy these days. So, you're going to see some different things on the wall. These are some of my whips that are hanging behind me. I'm trying this new thing, and I don't remember where I saw it. I need to get better at that too. Writing down where I see things so I can give proper credit. Hanging your whips on the wall so that you can see them. Instead of having them in bags, kind of out of sight, out of mind. I'm trying to get, this is not how they will end up being eventually. And I have a ton more across the room already on hangers as I'm looking, because you guys know I have a ton of whips. But the idea is to have them out where you can see them and fall in love with them again and get them stitched up. So I'm working on that project. You also see that I'm constantly changing what's going on behind me here. And if you've been here for a while, you know about my whip board up here, which is not up to date currently. Because I started evening in the park, my chatelaine at Christmas time, and that's not up here yet, but it will be. I am going to start covering new in 2023. I have lots of goals for the year. They're not resolutions per se, they're just personal goals. I talked a little bit in my last video about how you look back on your life at the end of the year and you think how your life went, what worked, what didn't work, what kind of took a backseat that shouldn't have, what took a backseat that should have. And I always like to evaluate life in that way. My husband and I are pretty good at evaluating how things are working in life. Like he and I are usually really good, but in life and making adjustments so that we have time to do the things that are important to us. And that's not all about me stitchy time. Sometimes that's about other things. It's about health. Reading for me is one of those things. Exercise is one of those things. And there's definitely stitching and knitting and all my crafting thrown in there. Plus there's travel. If you've been around, you know that Matt and I like to travel. And last July we took a month-long RV trip. So we are looking at expanding on that kind of traveling in our later years. We really enjoyed that. We would love to do more. So, yeah. I am going to talk about the non-stitchy stuff because I think it's important so when I watch crafters, I like to know about their life and what's going on. And it's such a community in the stitching community. I think we can actually be very helpful to each other by talking about what's going on in life, how we're dealing with it, without TMI, but how we're dealing with it, how we're doing with our goals, and some sort of accountability. So I am going to talk about health, my health, fitness, reading, and other goals that I have, but I'll put them at the end of the video. So if the stitching or the knitting is where you'd like to stop, have at it. It's all good. But I think for me, it's beneficial to talk about the stuff that troubles us, especially as women. I feel like women tend to gut it out an awful lot. And I don't know about you, but I tend to gut it out and just try to get things done and not pay attention to things that are maybe bothering me or things that need to change or things that I need to do for me. That's not selfish. That's called self-care. And I think we women are far too often categorizing those things as selfish desires. And so, yeah, I'm going to start talking about that. But I am, like I said, going to leave it right to the end of the video. And if you want to peace out, peace out. All right. All right, so shocker. I have an FFO this week. And I not only have one, but I have two. I have a cross stitch finished objects. And I have, sorry, hold on. My computer's giving me a thing. I have a cross stitch finished object, not fully finished. Sorry, not an FFO. I have a finish in cross stitch and I have an FFO in knitting. So there we go. I'm going to show you those first because I'm super proud of one of them. All right, so I don't need to show you the picture of this, so I'm not going to show you because it is finished. This is Tired Trio by Plum Street Samplers, and as many of you know, I've been struggling trying to get this finished because I do not like stitching on Monaco. But it's done. And so that'll go into a pile, and I'm sorry if you can hear my bird freaking out. For some reason, she's in the bedroom freaking out, but I'd like to finish this as a gift. So this will go in a box to be FFO'd as a gift, and we will see how that plays out. But that's my finish, my cross stitch finish. I'm so excited about that. I gotta set aside so it doesn't go into this other pile. All right. Next whip that I worked on this week, and actually it's just been today, and it will get the remainder of the day today. It is the reindeer from Cottage Garden Samplings. This is the Wood Sunday sale that I'm doing with Gail from Gail's Golden Needle. I am stitching this on 36 count. It's a Mystery by Bee Stitch Me. And I have to be honest and say this hasn't gotten a ton of progress, but it has gotten some. Here, let me put something behind it. Yep, I just dropped something. That's okay. And there it is. This morning I've been working on filling in the deer. I'd like to get the back legs done today and get him kind of filled in, and then I can work on all the others. But he will get more work today. And I'm not going to zip things closed, but I am going to put them away and kind of toss them to the floor. Hold on while I pick up what I just dropped. Okay, next whip. This one's got a little bit of a story. It is my oldest whip. It was started back in the 1990s, set aside, for those of you that don't remember, while I raised some kids, and was pulled back out a couple of years ago to be worked on. This is a Dimensions Gold Collection kit. It is Lost No More. It is stitched on the kit fabric with the kit floss. And here's a little bit of a story. So the chart, as you can see by the cover of this, was pretty beat up. It's a paper chart, difficult to read in the best case scenario, and really difficult when it's been sitting in a bag crunched up for, 20 plus years. So I contacted Simplicity. If you search Dimensions Gold, you find out Simplicity owns them. And I contacted them this week to see if I could get an electronic copy of the pattern. Not sure if they would, but I know Colette, the Highway Stitcher, has done this before, and they have. So I contacted them. I sent them pictures of my kit to prove that I had the kit, that I wasn't some scammer trying to get the pattern. And they sent me the electronic pattern. So the electronic pattern is Pattern Keeper friendly in that it will load the chart so you can track your stitches. It will not search colors and have the legend. So you'll need to use your paper legend for the colors, but I don't care. Having it on Pattern Keeper makes it much easier to stitch and much easier to see. And so I didn't get a ton done, but I'm going to show you full version. Stumbling over my words today. And so I worked on these colors right in here. And being on Pattern Keeper, it was so much easier to fill this in. It took a lot of work to check off what I had already been done. And I believe, if I remember right, I'm actually 68% done with this. But I worked right in here. I think this is going to whiz along now because it's on Ada. And now I have Pattern Keeper. This was called for, I have 2 WIPGO boards. I have one that has categories, and I have one that has my full coverage. This was one of the full coverage that was called. It's had 2 days. Yep, it's had 2 days. It needs 1 more day. But I think it might get more this month just because I now have it on Pattern Keeper. But that's where I am. I'm pretty happy that I have the electronic pattern. I'm really happy. The next whip I'm going to show you is Flosstube Friends. It's by October House Fiber Arts. I am doing this with some Flosstube friends of mine. Hannah from Hannah Dowling is coordinating it. Corinne from Grace Notes Fabrics was the first person to be called, so she gets to pick. When we get called, Hannah will spin. When we get called, we get to pick which character we would like to be and what color we would like our dress to be, which I think is kind of fun. I am stitching this on 40 count Beach Brew with the called for, with the exception of obviously the dress. So hold on just a second. Oh, I have a very long thread on my needle, so you'll have to ignore that. And I put my Grace Notes needle minder on here because it's Corinne's dress. So I had worked on the border before the holidays. I'm still working on the border. And this is the character Corinne chose. Which, let me pull this back out so you can see. On this, it's the girl with the white dress holding what I think is ornaments or purses, or actually I think it's ornaments. Sorry, itchy floss tube nose. And Corinne chose a purple for her dress. So I chose Classic Colorworks Pickled Beets. And it's just one of my favorite from Classic Colorworks, but you can see the purple and the variegation in there. I have not chosen the contrasting color. Whatever contrasting color I choose, I'd like to use it throughout the piece to make it cohesive, if that makes sense. Yeah. Just make sure that's not, somebody going nuts. Next whip was just a random, I felt like working on it, so I did. This is Southern Land by Owl Force Embroidery. If you guys have been around, you know that I really wanted to finish this last year, and for some reason I burned out on it. I have no idea why. It's being stitched on a 36 count Edinburgh linen with the called for floss. I'm doing 2/2 on this. The 40 count I always do 1/2. And the 36 count, I generally do 2/2. So I'm just going to take that off the... And this is where she is now. So I really didn't stitch a ton on it, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened here. I started stitching this floral motif and then went over here. I don't know why. I love stitching it. I like the fabric. I'm partial to Edinburgh linen. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I'll talk about that more in plans. Sorry, I've got to silence my phone. There, let's silence the phone. Okay, so the next whip I'm going to show you, if my daughter is watching, Courtney, you need to look away. I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'm going to chit chat. So I had started a gift for my daughter and future son-in-law for their wedding, which is happening later this year. And I started it the day they got engaged because I was at the Steel City Stitchers Retreat in Pennsylvania when they got engaged, and I got the word, so I started that day. I had brought stuff because I suspected that that was going to happen because future son-in-law had come to talk to us. So I had started Happily Ever After by Long Dog Samplers. And the more I stitched on it, I didn't get a ton done on it, and you guys have seen it here on this channel. The more I felt like it just didn't really suit them. And I showed it to my daughter, and although she said, no, I love it, I just still didn't think it really suited them. So I picked something different. So Courtney, if you're watching and you're not looking away right now, it is your own fault, girlfriend. Just saying. So I went online and I was looking at wedding samplers. Because it was something I wanted to do. And those of you watching don't know my son and daughter-in-law, but they did a cross-country trip to California, lived in Lake Tahoe for several years, and then did a cross-country trip back. And they like adventure, they like traveling. And so the long dog really wasn't hitting that mark for me, which I thought needed to be hit for a wedding sampler. So Courtney, last chance, look away. I don't think that she watches, but if she does. So I picked up this from Nikki Pattern, Modern Cross Stitch Patterns. It's called The Adventure Begins. I am stitching this on 40 count navy bean linen from Lakeside Linen. And ignore the threads, they're a mess. I do park, for those of you that are new here, because I'm a notoriously bad counter. So I tend to park threads where, I think they're going to go. And I'm going to put this behind it. So I have this scheduled for 1,100 or more stitches a month. So far, I've got, I think, 565 stitches in for this month. And as long as I meet that target, I will have it done in time to finish for their wedding. But there we are. Not much to see yet. But it's coming along, and I'm doing one thread over two, and I'm thoroughly enjoying stitching on it. So that's a plus too. I wasn't really enjoying that long dog, and it didn't really suit them. So it was kind of it's just something different. The next one I want to show you, I forgot to pull the picture out for, and I don't know if I have one here. Hold on. I don't think so. No, it is Grand Library. It's artwork by Amy Stewart. It is charted by Heaven and Earth Design. This was called on my full coverage WIPGO board. And I forgot to tell you that Tired Trio, my finish from the beginning, that was also called on my other WIPGO board under the miscellaneous category. And I chose Tired Trio to stitch on. So that got me a finish. This one was also called, full coverage was called. On my full coverage board, the Grand Library was called. So I'm stumbling today. I don't know why. Sunday. Grand Library, artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am still working in all my park threads, but this is where I am now. We can see the dragon coming together here, and the sorcerer, I think, is sorceress. But I'm still working in park threads, so it doesn't look like a whole lot yet. It will, though, eventually. Eventually. The other piece that was called on my WIPGO board, on WIPGO board number 1, was fall or Halloween. I've chosen Halloween Quaker in that it has not been worked on yet this month. So that's the stitching. Knitting. So I have 2 finishes. No, I have 1 knit finish. I had 2 finishes total, cross stitch and knit. I finished a pair of socks. And before I get critiqued on the socks, so I tried a couple things with these socks. They are not the best socks I've ever made, but they're going to be mine. Tried a couple things as far as technique, and I think I have my technique down. So these will be mine because there's tons of flaws in them, and you can see I'm covering up one of the toes because one of them, I mean, it was put together fine, but it doesn't look the nicest. So these are going to be my socks. All the socks that I knit from here on out are going to be gifts probably for this year. Because like I said, I used this pair to kind of perfect my technique, and it took me a long time to finish this pair because that's what I was working on. I have since cast on another set, which I will show you on my knitting whips. But they turned out pretty good. These are knit with yarn from Forbidden Fiber Co. I forget the colorway. I was in her sock yarn of the month club for quite a while, so I have tons of yarn. And you see my dishy yarn I stacked up right there because it's pretty. Those will be whipped. Those will be started soon too. But anyway, these are done. They're dry now, so I can take them off and use them. Yeah, they're nice. So that's those. My other knitting whip is my cowl. This was a kit from Forbidden Fiber Co. It is called the Clover Cowl. It's a little different colors than what shows on the printout. And this is pretty beat up because it goes to work with me. But that's the Clover Cowl. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. It's slow going because I do it at work on my lunch, and right now I'm in the color work, which I'm not sure that you're going to be able... There's fur on everything I do. Dudes, I own a yellow lab, and there's fur everywhere. So I'm working on the first section of color work with the clovers. I don't even know if you can see it with the lighting. I think you can see it right here. There's the bottom. The 2 side clovers. And I'm 2 rows away from then doing some straight knitting for a while and then doing more color work. I have the progress keeper on right there, so I will move it. That's how much progress I've made since last time you saw it. I will move that now up to where it sits now. I'll put it right there. There. So that's my Clover Cowl. I wanted to expand my knitting abilities this year so that I have the cowl going. I have socks perfected now, my technique on socks. And I have my Hue Shift Afghan, which I'm going to show you here shortly, going. And they all get knit on at different kinds of times. I got fur everywhere. This, like I said, travels with me to work. It stays in my office all week long. And if I have time, that's when it gets knit. And then it comes home on the weekends, only when I do a floss tube. It's a bag that I made. Then I have my Hue Shift Afghan, which I have right now in my StitchCon bag from last year because I'm only working with some of the yarn. My goal on the Hue Shift Afghan is to knit 2 of the squares every week. That will get it done sometime late in the year, September, October, which means then it gets a border, and I have a couple months to get the border done. But here's the Hue Shift Afghan. This was a kit from Knit Picks, and I chose the jeweled colorway. Let me move this. Let me see how the best way to show you. So I started one of the 2 squares that I need to do this week today. This has generally been a Sunday. Gosh, I don't even know how to show this to you guys. This has generally been a Sunday thing for me. Or when we're driving. Like today, after I'm done filming this and getting it uploaded, we're going to an RV show near us. We're in the market, totally off topic, for like a Class B RV. So we're going to an RV show, and I will probably knit this in the car on the drive. But you can see I will do this block today, and hopefully this block up here today. So this little section will be done, and then I'll start. These are like 5 done. Blech. The Afghan is done in 4 sections, and I believe each section is 5 by 5 maybe. So I think I have a couple more rows to go on this. But so far, I'm on track for my 2 squares a week. Now we're not that far into January, and last week's took me a little longer because I had to re-knit this square right here. I re-knit it 3 times. Because I hadn't worked on it in a long time and I forgot how to do the square and thought I didn't forget how to do the square. But it's pretty. It's going to work out nicely. I like knitting on it. It's easy knitting once you remember how you're going to do it. So I really enjoy it. And this morning we watched church online and I knitted during church. Because knitting for me, Gail and I did our Zoom call this morning. And I was telling her knitting for me is something I do when I really want to watch something. So if I don't have something on the TV if I have something on TV I don't really want to watch or don't care to see, I'll stitch. If I have something on the TV where I actually want to watch, I'll knit. And it's just how it rolls. Unless I have a fill-in project that works out well. So I had a sock finish, which means sorry if you can hear my emails coming through, which means I cast on more socks because I'm always going to have a pair of socks in the needles. I find them interesting to knit. I asked my oldest daughter, because she was complaining because she didn't have a pair of socks, to pick a yarn. She picked this yarn, which is another one from Forbidden Fiber Co., which I've lost the colorway tag for. But anyway, Forbidden Fiber Co., and she wanted footy socks. So right now, this is what I did. Yeah, I did a lot of knitting yesterday for reasons that I'm not going to go into, but the only stitching I did was finish Tired Trio yesterday. The rest was all knitting. I started the cuff, so I have a shortened cuff. Normally my socks, my basic vanilla socks that I got the pattern from Crazy Sock Lady, have all 20 rows of the ribbing. This only has 10. And then I went right into the heel because my daughter likes footy socks. So I'm hoping, this is 50 grams of a 100 gram skein. I'm hoping to get 2 pairs of footies out of, or at least 1 pair of complete footies out of a 50 gram skein. So then the whole skein would get her 2 pairs. That's what I'm hoping for. But there we go. I have a little more of the heel yet to work. I generally work these in a round on a small circular needle, but I find the heel pretty fiddly to do that with. So I put the heel on DPNs. And then what I'll do is once I get the heel flap done, I will go around and pick up the stitches and it'll all be back on here while I do the decreases. So yeah. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty proud of my socks right now. Spending the time on that pair and perfecting my technique, because you can knit like somebody else, but honestly, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, right? So I think every crafter in general needs to find their own method. I mean, you can follow a pattern, but the actual method of knitting, you know? And so I thought the last pair of socks was taking me forever and I was so frustrated with it. But I think it did me a huge favor because I'm looking at this knitting going, gosh, it looks like I've been knitting forever. Just taught myself how to knit last year. So I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty proud of that. The other thing that I've been running to in the knitting is every project, you always have like some little bit left over that's not enough to do anything with. And for me, that's a little crazy to just be throwing stuff away like that. So I decided to start a granny square type Afghan with the remnants from the socks that I finished. And I held it 2 strings together. And so this will be a nice big square Afghan, but every knitting project that I end, and the reason I held 2 sock weight yarns together is because that equals a DK weight. So whenever I finish a knitted project, I'm just going to pick it up on the square and keep crocheting around. And I will end up with a very scrappy granny square type Afghan that has remnants of all my knitting projects. I think that's a great idea. I got the idea from Crazy Sock Lady. I believe she's doing it, but on like straight rows of crocheting. I think, if I remember right. No, she's also got a granny square one going, but she's doing bigger granny squares and then connecting them together as she goes with her remnants. And she knits way more than I do. So this could be years in the making right here, but it's a use for all those leftover bits of yarn. So that's that. So let's talk haul, and then we'll go into plans and all the other stuff because we're already 30 minutes in. I have a little bit of haul. Some of it's not really haul because it was given to me. I was at my mom's last weekend, and she gave me a piece of 36 count antique white linen. No manufacturer on here. And then I got a 36 count Edinburgh antique white. No maker on that either. She also gave me this pattern. I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words today. She was going through her patterns and deciding when I was there what she wanted to stitch and what she didn't. And she said she had gotten this pattern by mistake and was going to sell it. And I said, can I have it? This is Carothea Barracks Thomas. This is actually a pattern I almost bought while I was at StitchCon. It calls for MPIs. I will probably either do it DMC eventually or stitch from stash. I'm not getting started anytime soon, but I actually absolutely love this one. I don't know why the bird. I just love the bird and the butterfly. So if I just did the tree stump with the bird and the butterfly, that would be enough for me. I'm not sure that I'm feeling this brick wall, but we'll see. I'll start with the tree and the bird and the butterfly, and then if I feel like adding stuff after that, I will. But I actually think that would be a nice clean look. Right? I have another Kathy Barrett Cooper that I'd really love to start too. Also, I got my fabric of the month from Grace Notes. They always send a nice little sticker along. I'm thinking this is pronounced Pensiera. Corinne, let me know if that's wrong. It is. It looks like a light pinky purple. I don't know if this is going to show well. You know, fabrics. Nope, that's really washed out. Let's see if I can get this. It's a 36 count. It's still washed out. It's deeper than that. Yeah, see, it just washes out. It's a little deeper than that. Not a lot darker, but a little bit. It's very pretty. I'm not a pinky purple girl, but I might have plans for this. Of course, I've said that about the last 3 fabrics I've gotten, I think. But that's that. That'll go in my 36 count linen stash right here. I'll just put that away right now. I have that out so I can see it. She also contacted me because a group of her and her friends are doing one of the Dreaming Of by Rosewood Manor as like a round robin. And she asked me if I wanted to join on the next one they did. And I said, oh, yeah. Sucker for stitch-alongs, right? And she asked me which one I wanted, and she would help me acquire it. And so I picked Dreaming of Poppies by Rosewood Manor. mainly because I love poppies. I think it's because of the veteran significance of the poppy. And if you don't know about that, Google it. But I like the bright colors in here. I'm going to pick a nice, I think, neutral linen to put it on. I'm thinking either white or gray tinted. I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking now over in my stash. I don't know. Maybe I'll choose one of these 36 count pieces. I don't know. But I like this. It's all called for DMC. So this will start, I believe she said it starts in March. But yeah, so this will be added into my rotation too. But it's a round robin, I think. So it'll be good. Get it, stitch one motif, mail it on. I'm happy about that. So I have to get with Tiffany from Black Cat Accessory and get a bag for this because it's going to be mailing out to people. And that is my haul. Okay, what else is on my thing? Okay, I talked about the channel schedule already. Just want to make sure that I did not talk about that. So my planner status is good. I have goals in here. I talked to you about my WIPGO boards already. I have one that has categories, this right here, and I have one that has my full coverage listed on here. And each one that's called gets 3 days no matter what that day entails. And I was talking to Gail this morning, saying I'm not sure I want to continue with WIPGO already. It's January. But then I looked and I got, well, it targeted my stitching and I ended up getting a finish out of it. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. I have other goals in my planner that I'm going to talk about now. So let's talk about cross-stitch plans and then I'll go into the others. So those of you that want to peace out, peace out. I still have to give a day to Lost. I still have to give a day to Grand Library. I have 3 days to give to the Halloween Quaker. I need to work on my Flosstube Friends and finish her dress. I also have Cinnamon Stars that I did not show you today that my Stitchy group and I are trying to get almost finished by StitchCon in June. So that needs some attention. And I have about 600 more stitches on the wedding sampler to complete this month. Today's only the 15th. I don't think that's bad. I think that's plenty of time to get that stuff done. I'm going to say this now and maybe it'll change. I may just focus on those pieces for the rest of this month and see how it goes and see if I can crank a couple more finishes out of the deal. I constantly go back and forth about my whip count and whether it's good or bad. I believe I'm sitting at 32 at the moment, 33. So part of me says if it never gets started, it's never going to get done. Another part of me says if I can just focus on 5 of them until I get some finishes, I could get my whip count down and therefore theoretically still be able to switch between a few pieces, but not have as many going that pull at my heartstrings so that I can focus and get some things done. So my brain's constantly battling with that whole thing. I think I'm going to continue to stitch what I want when I want. If the WIPGO board doesn't work for me, I'm not going to do it. If it does, I'll follow it. So I'm really giving myself some latitude to just find my groove. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing right now. So that's the plan. I'm going to stick with my goals for WIPGO. I also need to stick with the pieces that have to get done this year for gift reasons or whatever. And I'm sticking with my knitting goals because so far right now it's working. And I'm getting things done. So I'm just going to keep going. In my planner, so this is where I'm going to segue onto some other stuff. So if you're only here for the stitching and you want to leave right now, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Consider subscribing if you're not already. And just have a great week. And hopefully I'll see you in 1 to 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. But you have to kind of be flexible with me right now. For those of you that are sticking around, we're going to go back into the planner because I do think people should start talking about this, whether it's beyond Flosstube or not. So I have other goals in my planner, health and fitness goals, and nothing abnormal or earth-shattering. I have reading goals because I've been in college doing my master's for the last several years, and I need to get back into some fun time reading, whether it's listening to books or reading books, whether it's self-help or true life or fiction, all of those things. So I had set myself up with some not lofty goals, but just an awareness of these things that I wanted to accomplish. So in the book realm, I've been reading The Day the World Came to Town. Let me get my phone. I've actually been listening to it on my library app, the Libby app, in my commute. I'm using time that I would normally not be doing anything. The Day the World Came to Town, 9/11 in Gander, Newfoundland, by Jim DeFeedy. It's a very good book about how Gander took care of people on 9/11 when there were many, many planes deferred to them for landing that were not scheduled to be there. And I just think books like this speak to the human spirit, and it's very easy to get down and out. A negative about how the world's going. And I think this book is a very nice listen, especially on the way to work and the way home. Because as you know, if you've been here for any period of time, work has been a bit crazy for me. The other book that I've been reading, and this is a hardcover book, and I'm trying to get a picture of it up on the screen in case you're interested. So a little backstory. I'm of age of menopause, as you probably all know. And been struggling with getting my hormones balanced and not having to take pills and being able to manage my life, the brain fog, and all that stuff that comes with menopause that women don't talk about. And although I'm not wanting to kill my husband, I don't have any of that kind of stuff going on, I do have things in my life happening that I feel are inhibiting on my quality of life. So I've been researching, being a nurse, I'm researching lots of things for me, to help me kind of gain a semblance of order in my hormones. So I started listening to a woman named Cynthia Thurlow. Let me show you a picture in a minute. So if you're interested, you can. And I'm not affiliated. I haven't contacted her. I'm not affiliated with her. Nothing. She's an NP, and I've been reading her book on intermittent fasting, the intermittent fasting transformation. It's specifically designed for women to improve hormonal health and slow aging. And after listening to several of her podcasts, I was interested in reading her book. So my mission in January was to implement one dietary change that would help me get to a long-term goal of just overall better health. And the one that I've decided to do is intermittent fasting, where it's not extreme. I'm not doing one meal a day. I'm not doing any of that. I'm doing intermittent fasting. So because nighttime snacking is an issue for me. Big issue. I'm not eating after dinner, and I'm doing a 16-8 window right now, which means I'm fasting for 16 hours. So 12 of that will be, let's say I stop eating at 6 o'clock at night, 12 of that would be 6 to 6. So most of that time I'm sleeping. So it's really not that hard. And breaking my fast at like 10 and having an 8-hour eating window and trying to keep that 8-hour eating window without snacks and good healthy meals. That's my goal right now. I'm worried about specific food and all that stuff later, but right now I just like to get that. So I've been working on that. Yesterday was my first day of absolutely no nighttime snacking. So I feel successful there. And we'll keep moving forward on that. So the reading was one of my things. So I've got a real life book going and then a self-help book. Health and fitness is another one of those things. But healthy eating goes with the intermittent fasting and the quality of food that I'm eating. And I think those are the only two other exercise. So that's been a challenge, and I think it's a challenge for most people. I work Monday through Friday, and I work sometimes some long days. So exercise becomes kind of an issue. I'm still working that out for me and how that's going to work for me. I'm really not interested in running a marathon or doing a triathlon, but I am interested in being strong and healthy and fit. So I'm still working on that. It's a work in progress, but I think it's something many women struggle with in our busy lives, in our caregiving roles. Um, it's one of those areas where I know for me, historically through my life, I've not given enough time to, and I really should give more time to. So those are those things. And if you have stuck around this far to hear all this garbling on about stuff, I thank you so much. I so appreciate it. I think I'm realizing just how much women struggle as we age to age well, stay healthy, and still have the stamina to do the things that we want to do and manage things like menopause and caregiving parents and caregiving grandkids and family members and all these other things that interject in life. And I think it's about darn time we all talked about it, because I think it's very easy for me to feel like I'm all alone when I am certain that there are a million other women that struggle with the same things. So, you know, stitching's my sanity, so is knitting, and so is talking about our problems. So it all kind of comes together for me. So if you don't like that part of the channel, I'm totally good with that. Just peace out after the stitching. But if you're wanting a community to help support women, stick around to the end of my videos, and we're just going to be talking about stuff. Leave comments below if you have any interesting tidbits about anything I've said, or want to contribute to a discussion in some way. I enjoy your comments. I don't have a ton of time to reply to them, so forgive me for that. But I do always try to give them a heart and a like. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Peace out.